And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me, I have 1, 2, 3 good brothers. Ha 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 ha. We have the master of the Fistiverse, the fistiest man on the internet, good brother Joel.
I am already dead. Oh, darn, I missed that.
We have the man who sometimes wins his own challenge, good brother Doku.
Didn't win it today, but cheers anyways.
And the master of cursed knowledge, and the man who helped coin "It's not as bad as Valhalla," good brother Monarch.
I mean, I feel the bar was set so low at Valhalla. Anyone would have coined that term if they read that fucking book.
Sometime after I got it, the book was made pay what you want. I'm not sure if it still is. I haven't checked.
The greatest insult.
Oh. It was either pay what you want or free, which tells me a lot.
Can I put in a negative number?
God, I wish. I also wish I could have put it in a negative number when it came to Megalos. Even though Megalos had good ideas, it just frustrated the hell out of me.
By pay what you want, do you mean I'm allowed to pay you in spite?
Unfortunately, no.
Oh,
But
that just means we're going to debt.
You can pay people in spite with pay what you want. You just pay nothing and then leave them a terrible review.
yeah,
Believe me, if you sat through freaking Valhalla, that would not feel enough. You would still feel like you were owed something.
I lost it. That rarely happens.
No, that sounds terrible.
Or, like, by the tail end of it, I was like, "Stop the ride! I want off," because I could see where this was going.
That was like the second full season we did.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started Valley.
I think,
wow, that's how this is starting off, isn't it?
Yeah, for both the Thursday and Friday, every time a lot of times when new people have come in, there's been one stinker. I try to avoid the stinkers, but sometimes they happen. Fortunately, that hasn't happened with you yet, Joel, because I've gotten a little bit better at catching them. But
What you're telling me is I can make...
We've had a lot of bangers. Like, I haven't really had any that I was like, ew, pee-ew.
Yeah. But...
Mildred, what you're telling me is I need to invest in a trebuchet delivery service so people can pay what they want. Via strategically dislocated rocks in their general direction.
I will neither confirm nor deny.
That's all I need.
But the 3-in-1 rule is applicable to this week. So which is why we are, of course, not covering Valborn tonight. And instead, we are doing the double feature. The first one we have is a more sword and sandal affair known as Blood and Bronze. And obviously, just from the look of it, we're dealing with a very Babylonian kind of game. I do love the cover art. It looks very movie poster. That's the vibe I get from the cover art itself. This is not going to be a very big book. It is only 70 pages, and the book we're going to be covering after it is only 66 pages.
You should probably clarify for the people that aren't like they're just listening. That when you say movie poster, you mean a good movie poster.
I mean a Struzan-esque movie poster.
Yeah, yeah, like an actual movie poster, not this whole orange and blue that happened for like 15 years.
Oh, don't get me started on orange-blue contrast. That shit was inescapable.
That was bad, man. It got real bad.
Like, on as a one-off thing, doing orange-blue contrast is fine, but when literally fucking everybody was doing it, oh. Hell, I remember being in a graphic design class and some of the teachers were encouraging that shit. And I headed out with the teacher because I was like, I'm not doing it.
You should just like looked up modern movie poster and showed them the wall of orange and blue contrast. Like, look, we're not gonna stand out. This is a zebra at this point. Everything looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
Just become camouflage.
I would have done yellow and green out of spite.
Christmas colors, man, red and blue, or red and green.
I said, oh, all right, I'm going to do something a little different, and the name of the project that I'll be doing is going to be called Color Spray. He wasn't a D&D player, so he didn't quite get it, but he did get it when I submitted the final piece, where it was just all the colors I could use in so garish a format that looking at on the monitor actually hurt his eyes. The moral of the story, once again, never play hardball with me.
I'm sure he appreciated the effort.
I still got a passing grade, but on the report he also wrote in all caps, "Fuck you."
Now that's a win.
Because he said it was like getting flashbanged, which was kind of the point I was trying to do. Again,
it's prismatic spray. Like, what do you want, buddy? That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, if I'm going to make a point, I'm going to do so in the bluntest, most direct and excessive way possible.
Yeah, I just would have showed him that image right there with all the like everything was orange and blue.
Mm-hmm. But
sorry, they decided that this would be a good time for construction outside of my house, so I'm just muting between comments.
No worries. But this particular project, we're looking at the 2016 revision. I don't think there's been a more recent one. Right after the cover, we have a very nice map that could be easily used as a hex crawl. In fact, it has the hexes for it. Doesn't have the hex symbols, but I feel like that's setting a tone. We don't get a whole lot of Babylonian-inspired TTRPGs in the market, which I do find a bit of a shame because because there's a lot of material to explore within that particular region. But first we have the introduction, and before that, let me check something. We do have bookmarks, which is good because I didn't see a table of contents at the front. But I would frame that photo. Oh, never mind. There's a table of contents in the introduction.
There's a table of contents, and it's even bookmarked. I don't want to hear your yapping.
Yeah, it's bookmarked. It is hyperlinked, but it's in the introduction chapter, not at the front.
Oh no.
It's a little weird, but I'm actually kind of
games,
fine with this.
For a guy that wants games to do new and bold stuff, the second they do, you get your panties in a twist. Anyway, you skipped over the best part, the art. There's a huge, gorgeous two-page spread right after the map that is breathtaking.
Yeah.
It utterly sets the tone.
Mm-hmm.
I had to look at this artist, by the way. This guy right here, Rich Longmore. He's got a website and a bunch of other stuff. Man, look at his stuff. It's all this good. If this guy is making art for TTRPGs, we are a wealthier community as a result.
Yep.
Absolutely beautiful stuff.
But I do want to take the time to read out the introductions section, because this I find really helps set the tone. Imagine that you're an adventurer, a cunning rogue, a hardened mercenary, a farseer wise in the ways of the stars. Before you lies a world rife with adventure and intrigue, wicked men and evil fiends. For this world is not like ours. It is still young, untamed, and shrouded in mysteries. It is a world of blood and bronze. To the north, the snow-capped ridges of the Zagros Mountains rise like a dragon's spine, home to savage tribes and ravenous beasts, but rich in copper and gems. Gaze west or south, and you will see vast deserts of raging sands and barren stone where nomad tribes make trade with strange civilizations beyond the edge of the world. To the southeast, a labyrinthine delta of sudden lakes and shallow canals carries merchants' rafts and the pirates that prey on them. Beyond are bogs and disease-ridden marshlands where strange creatures crawl and slither. At the heart of this world lays a barren stretch of lands of hard soil, circumscribed by two rivers. Tigris to the north, violent and cold, and its southern sister, Euphrates, feverish and slow. Across this land, great cities are strewn, like gems of ancient allure. Of them, Sippar is the adamant, situated where the eastern steppe meets the great western deserts, and the two rivers turn to approach each other, once again pursuing their separate paths. Sippar commands all trade between the wealthy Sumer kingdoms and their western neighbors. Here, people gather, seeking refuge from beasts and enemies behind massive walls, or solace from the scorching sun under the many-colored tarps of the bazaars. Here, people bow down in the shade of their ziggurats and tremor in awe of their sacred rulers. But not you, for you are an adventurer. Driven by an urge for power, by curiosity or avarice, you and your band of likes travel this world, seeking glory, gold, knowledge, and power. This is the game of those adventurers. After that last sentence, I feel like I need the Law and Order sound effect. You know, these are their stories. But
These are their stories. Yeah, I like this one. It's a touch dry for my taste, but you know, considering the setting, that might be that might be completely reasonable.
a little on the nose, are we?
You know, I gotta do what I gotta do. I get 2 dad jokes a day, one for each kid. So you guys got the second one.
Yep. But
Yeah, what I like about this, and I'm not gonna praise it a huge amount because it doesn't really hit my trigger, but I do want to at least praise the point that I think you're trying to make, which is this actually does very clearly claim the psychic landscape of what this game's gonna do. Right? It's like, hey, this is what you're in for. This is the vibe you want to have. And I actually like it next to the table of contents because it allows me to see things like how they renamed the core classes. You know, what variations from the rules they're going to use. Really nice stuff, and it's wonderful to have that introduction right next to those contents because I kind of get both legs of the game, the setting and the mechanics right there next to each other. So it's a little thing, but I appreciate it.
Yep.
So
So
difference good sometimes.
then they go into what is Blood and Bronze and give several bullet points for the players and for the referee. For the players, the bullet points are: you portray your adventurer, you roll dice and take notes, you cooperate with your fellow players to make the adventures fun and thrilling, but also to emerge victorious from them. And for the referee, it is: you set the scene and make up things about the world and its inhabitants. You play the part of all non-player characters. You act as a moderator, and you adjudicate the rules. And then they go into a bit of a thing on the genre of high adventure, as well as a few reference point of medias. Cabria from 1914 is one that they bring up, and the other is The Thief of Baghdad. As well as the works of Clark Ashton Smith, Robert E. Howard, and Gustav Flaubert. For people who lean a bit more weeb, I'd say Arslan, not the Lion from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but the light novel series that's been made into an OVA and an anime, and a video game based on the latter anime. Also, it's fully known as The Heroic Legend of Arslan, and the novel series has cover art by Yoshitaka Amano. And the more recent anime had a lot of art done by the same woman who's responsible for Full Metal Alchemist. So that's kind of what we are dealing with. And the reason why she was involved is because she did a manga adaptation of the original light novels in the early 2010. Though, because it's a novel series and a light novel series, there's a lot of volumes.
I mean, more to love, right? Sorry, I had to go and yell at the loudest truck on earth crawling itself away, like, just between every street. Like, right outside my window. It's like, dude, you had all day to be an idiot. Why right now? So,
but there's like 16 novels in the whole series.
Cool. Again, the light novels are pretty easy reading, though. Like, I knocked out Demon City Shinjuku in 2 days. And it looks big, but it's a light novel, so you just tear right through it.
But when we get into what you need in order to play the game, and it looks like it's looking like we're using the full range of dice, including percentile die, which is going to be interesting when we get to that point. Then we have the rules summary, which a lot of this will be getting into more detail, and then we get to the world of Blood and Bronze. And there are some bullet points to hit. It's a land of twin rivers. It's around Mesopotamia. You have vast cities and uncharted wilderness. A age of bronze. This is the early forms of metalworking. And even messing around with bronze is expensive in this era. To the point where full-on straight swords are only done by the best smiths. More curved swords are more common. So, be prepared to love the Khopesh. But
now, too late, baby. Now love me some Khopeshes. Although I learned scimitar is a slur recently, so that's fun. Twitter. You can write anything.
something, those who go out looking for witches. Moving on. We have that food is plentiful, resources are scarce. I.e., it says the land of the rivers is rich in produce and blessed with knowledge and civilization, but equally poor in most other respects. Even basic resources have to be imported. Timber and stone from the north, flint, obsidian, and metal from faraway lands. Thus, trade expeditions often brave the world, seeking fortunes beyond the Eastern Ocean or following secret paths through the mountains of great deserts. That's a story seed in and of itself. There are many gods, all manifest and feared. The ruling caste of gods is the Anunnaki. They are the princes and empresses of the gods. Just as mankind pays tribute to their temples and rulers, so all gods in turn pay field to the Anunnaki. Uh, the most powerful of them are Enlil, Ishtar, Ereshkigal, Ea, and Shamash. Most cities are built around ziggurats. Shamash is god over the desert. I mentioned a cataclysmic flood brought the world to its needs. Not 100 years ago, the world was ravaged by a cataclysmic flood sent by the gods as punishment for trespasses unknown. This deluge dramatically changed the face of the earth. New mountains rose, old crumbled to sand. Rivers altered their course, and fertile soil became desert. Foul beasts awoke in the depths and crawled up to the surface. So, there's always, if you look at certain fantasy settings, there's always a bit of an undercurrent of post-apocalypse. Here, because of the whole thing with the flood, the deluge in Babylonian tradition, you have that fairly literally. But you have essentially a post-apocalypse. And again, the reason
so quiet tonight. I feel compelled to say more because like everybody's being so quiet. I know you're there. I can see your avatars. I continue.
But we also have a thing on the cultures, which are the Akkadians, the Amorites, the Kuthians, and the Sumerians, as well as the more peripheral cultures, like the Reed folk, the Kassite, the Hittites, and the like. We also have what I guess is going to be a starting point for adventures, at least a suggested one, in Sipar. Sipar is a bustling trade town situated where the eastern grasslands give way to the sandy wastes of the west, and the muddy swamps rise to greet the gray hills of the north. It is basically a middle ground that's not under the complete sway of any one major power. But then, I know I skimmed a lot, but there's not a whole lot to dissect when it comes to these
That's kind of where I'm at with this, where it's like, okay, this is nice, and if I wanted this gives it to me in spades. But what is there to talk about? It's like, yeah, this is good. That's my review. If this is what you wanted, look at that. They nailed it. But I don't want to be dismissive, but there's not much to say in terms of like conversation, you know.
And I went into a lot of detail in the setting when it came to night because there isn't a parallel.
Yeah, I mean this has a lot of historicity to it, you know. Like that's what it's cored in, and so, you know, when it comes to that, if you're like, okay, they represented the era well, then isn't that enough?
Yeah.
What else do you have to say about it?
But then we have Chapter 3, the player characters, starting with creating your adventurer. First is rolling ability scores. You roll 2d6. If you roll Snake Eyes, you re-roll, so you're assumed to get a range from 3 to 12. You can change positions between 2 scores rolled, and record them on the sheet. Then determine ability ratings, and this setup is I can't say it's a 1-to-1 of a lot of D20 based systems because the score and rating relationship isn't the same.
How so?
It works in intervals of 3 instead of intervals of 2.
And 10 is not the neutral point.
What's the neutral point in this one?
There isn't one.
Oh.
Like,
so it's never going to be a negative.
Yeah. 3 to 5, rating of 1. 6 to 8, 2. 9 to 11, 3. 12 to 14, 4. 15 to 17, 5. 18, 6.
Huh. To be fair, you only seem to be rolling 2 dice?
So so you're gonna have a rating of 1 to 4, in any ability you pick.
Huh.
See, optionally, you can roll a background, or pick one. We have a d20 roll for potential backgrounds. Then you choose a class. There are 6 classes available: Mercenary, Rogue, Mystic, Desert Farer, Courtesan, and Seer. Then go into Name and Appearance. Then you choose a class skill. Each character has an array of special abilities or skills unique to your class. You pick one or more as detailed in your class description.
Then this character sheet.
Then you record endurance thresholds, which shows how many items you can carry without fatigue and how much damage you can sustain without serious injuries. Then record your starting equipment. Any equipment marked with an asterisk is non-encumbering. And when it comes to improving your character, you can go up in rank and gain new abilities. Your rank, I'd say rank is the equivalent of level here, but in order to increase in rank, you have to spend either mina or shekels. Because you're offering wealth to the Queen of No Court. And
yeah, and this, I mean, that's just a version of gold for XP, but with an in-universe justification, which works fine for me. I like gold for XP as a game mechanic, and having an in-universe justification is kind of nice.
Yep.
There you go.
Sometimes
I wish I could say more about it, but it's actually just really good.
Sometimes you can enter into a covenant, which is a bond of allegiance where you serve fealty to a master, which grants access to unique abilities in return for loyalty and tithe. When you enter into a covenant, you must offer wealth or sacrifices to the master of that allegiance. How much depends on the master in question, so do not do it lightly. In return, you get a covenant rank, which will be similar to class ranks. On the other hand, if you serve more than one master, you are paying tribute each time you increase your ranks. The amount demanded depends on the jealousy of the master and increases with the character's rank. If you refuse to pay tribute, you have to check for wrath. Roll a d6. If the score is lower than or equal to the corresponding rank, the trespass is forgiven. Otherwise, you are smited for infidelity. On a 6, you always provoke its anger. When your characters provoke the wrath of your master, cross out that rank but don't erase it. This will indicate the magnitude of the master's wrath. And looks like the top rank is 6. So that's an interesting way to reinforce that you have to be giving up your sacrifices to your patron deity.
I really like this multi-class system. This is great.
But
wait, what other multi-class system invites the wrath of the gods? This is fun.
But first we have the mercenary, which I'd say is the equivalent of a fighter. I like that there's a list of sample names and guises for it. When creating a mercenary, you get Hardened and Tackle as free class skills. In addition, you may choose any 2 specializations from the list below. Each specialization can be chosen up to 3 times for increased honing, as detailed under each entry. When you increase your mercenary class rank, you choose 2 additional specializations. So let's see. Hardened, you add your class rank to your maximum endurance. Tackle, which is an action you can do. It's a vigor test. On a 5 or higher, your target must make a saving throw against might or be moved into an adjacent zone of your choice. Each additional 5 or more increases the distance you tackle, throw, or kick them by 1 zone and adjusts their save by -1. But Then we have mercenary specializations, which this is basically a talent tree. And it looks like with each one we have, you can take it up to 3 times and get a boosted version of the effect. So, for example, Cleave, when you cut down a foe in close combat, you can make a second attack with the Use Force or a similar skill, provided that there are any other opponents within reach. Taking it again
Cleave.
lets you do it a second time. If you fell a second character doing Cleave, you can make it third attack, and with third as above, but you can now make a fourth attack if you've already slain 3. So, yeah, a lot of the class skills that we have with the mercenary are basically fighter skills, but there are a few surprises here, like field medic. But then we have the rogue, which has an encumbrance and endurance of 8. When creating, you get a choice between preternatural fortune and vocational proficiency, which is almost asking the question: is it better to be lucky or good?
Lucky.
Mm-mm.
I'd rather be lucky. Thankfully, I am. I'm not good at anything, but I've got the luck of the Irish.
Yep. And of course, then we have the rogue skills, which are about what you'd expect they are. And because of how many there are for both talents, it's clear that you are not going to be able to just get everything, even at level 6.
Good. Well, you should have some trade-offs. That's part of the fun.
Let's see, then we have the Mystic, which has an endurance and encumbrance of 10. And you have Lotus Abstinence. However few doses of Lotus power you have left, they still count as 3 items for encompass purposes. Should you at any time carry more than 3 doses, the bloom's permanent weight is adjusted accordingly. 4 doses counts permanently as 4, 5 as 5, and so on. You also get Lotus Trance, increasing powers and tolerance as free class skills, and can choose a Lotus spell. When you increase your Mystic class rank, you get another Lotus spell. A spell can be chosen more than once.
Yes.
And I don't see any sort of spells per day or anything like that here, so I think it's a case of you can, if you use your equivalent to charges is Lotus Powder. Because a lot of them talk about consuming a Lotus Power to use their effects.
That's very Conan.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you get more. You cast spells through drugs.
You know what? I'm into it. I'm way into it.
Yep. But then we have the Desert Farer, which has endurance 1+. Not quite sure what that's supposed to be.
Yeah, there's a lot happening in this system.
No, never mind. Never mind. It's not 1+. It's 14. I just got thrown off by the font. What the hell am I thinking?
What page is this? I want to see this.
27.
Yeah, you've been jumping around a little, so let me scoot back to 27 here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alright, where am I looking here?
Looking under Desert Farer and looking under Endurance.
Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. Yeah, what's with that font? That's weird.
Mm-hmm. But
yeah, all the numbers are like that. Huh. The 4 is especially weird looking.
Mm-hmm.
What font is this? It's not so bad when you zoom in, but yeah. I gotta figure out what font this is. This is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So, when you create a Desert Fair as your character, you get Swift and Curious Constitution as free skills. And you get a class skill as well as additional skills when you go up in level.
Hmm.
But if the rogue is the rogue and the mystic is definitely the caster, and the mercenary is very much the fighter, I suppose the Desert Pharaoh would be the closest thing to a ranger. It's not a one-to-one. But then we have the Courtesan, where you can re-roll one ability score using 3 dice and keeping the 2 best. If necessary, recalculate the ability using the table. And you get at character creation, you get favors as a free class skill and can choose one from the list. With favors, you start with 3 D100 shekels worth of favors to collect. These favors are non-transferable and cannot be used to increase class ranks, but can otherwise be used for anything you and the referee agree upon. But then we have the Seer, which has an endurance and encumbrance of 10. Oh. And also the rule Spirit Combustion. Should you become incapacitated due to damage, you must immediately roll a 10-sided die. If the result is lower than your level or equal to the amount of bone salt you carry, it will disappear in a glistening ghost flame. If you carry 10 or more doses, the spirits released will seize control of your lifeless body on a roll of a 10, pursuing their own strange ends until you have successfully recovered. You get, at character creation, you get Scholarly Knowledge, Immunity, Bone Sorcery, and Ceremonial Casting as bonus skills. You pick one additional one at character creation and pick additional further ones as you go up in rank. And yeah, I can see why you like the sheet. It's one of those everything you need is on the sheet kind of things. I can see a small bit of DNA of AD&D in this sheet design, but it's not a retread. But then we get to weapons and equipment. And okay, so we have the answer to what shekels and mina are. Shekels are the most common coinage. Mina is the less common. 60 shekels is equal to a mina.
Okay, and 60 base system makes sense.
Mm-hmm. But we do have an optional rule where you can only acquire shekels by trading in their treasures or finding or stealing them from anyone wealthy. That is a option. But then we have a short list of the war gear, basically weapons and armor. Let's see, how much is a... And might be a bit before anyone gets a Kopesh because they cost 300 shekels.
Damn. I like Kopesh even less now.
I mean, it still can be useful.
Sure, but it's pricey as hell. Jesus.
And with armor, The first three have a defense bonus. Everything after that does not. Probably because it would be hard to dodge in some of the larger parts. But then we get to qualities and characteristics. Basically the tags that you would see on weapons and armor. And a lot of these are ones you would expect. I think one that's a bit unusual is weight. For the purposes of encumbrance, it counts as a blank amount of items. Then whether or not it's thrown. And then we have Lotus Powder itself. Lotus Power is a powerful hallucinogenic poison, diffusing the border between the waking world and the gods' dark reveries. When a character consumes it, roll on the chart below to determine its effects. Mystics do not need to roll. Rogues will roll twice and choose. All effects have d6 hours unless otherwise stated. And the effects, so... Oh. On the other hand, they do note that using or even possessing Lotus Powder causes abstinence. If you're carrying a dose of Lotus Powder, you will suffer its weight when the dose is gone. Should she at any time hold more than one dose, the permanent burden, they spelled it as birded.
Birded?
Increases proportionally.
The permanent birded.
Mm-hmm. But then we have Bone Salt, a crystalline dust. When you consume it, use the chart. Seers and other sorcerers don't need to roll. Rogues roll twice. Effects can last 1 day, and there's special rules for spirit combustion. If you take damage or are carrying Bone Salt, carries the risk of a spontaneous spirit combustion. Should you become incapacitated due to damage, you must immediately roll a 10-sided die. If the result is lower than the level or the amount equal to bone and salt you carry, it will disappear in a hissing flame. If you carry 10 or more tokens... sorry. The more doses... I don't know what happened to me there. The spirits released will seize control of your lifeless body on a roll of a 10, pursuing their own strange ends until you have successfully recovered. And the effects of Bone Salt are interesting. Like, on the low end, we have recollections of a life that isn't yours.
God, that'd be unnerving.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those ideas that's so actually fascinating that I have no idea how I would model in a game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how I'd begin. It's like, oh, hey, your mind is filling up memories that aren't yours, and you don't know which life is real. Oh, what does that do? Oh, it's -1 to certain rolls. Oh. It's like, it's so much more conceptually interesting than we have fidelity for in the rules.
Mm-hmm. Oh. I think the approach I'd probably take is a trade-off, like you're temporarily swapping things you know with things you're not supposed to know.
Yeah, that'd be cool as hell.
On the other hand, if you're on a 12, you have profound knowledge. In life, the spirit haunting your soul must have been a scholar or fool, for it seemingly possesses an all-encompassing knowledge. You may ask the spirit any 10 questions, and it will answer. However, for each answer, the referee will roll a d20 under the number of questions previously asked to determine if the answer is deceitful or not.
Ooh, so you consistently get a higher chance of it not being real.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's interesting. That means you could have, like, 3 or 4 really solid chances of getting accurate questions.
Mm-hmm.
and then you could just re-ask those questions later on to see if they're lies.
Mhm.
Oh, you can mess with that a lot. Yeah, there's lots of different ways you
Yeah.
can mess with that.
I think another fun one is 10. If the spirit was ever human, it has long since devolved. You can speak the language of all beasts, but you forget that of mortals.
Yeah, see, that's great. Right there, the game mechanic and the actual thing that's happening are one for one identical. I love that.
But bone salt is finite, is sought after by seers and sorcerers, despite fear of it. The referee should assume that whenever available, a dose of bone salt costs no less than 2 D100 shekels. In addition, the component is only available on a roll of 5 or more, using a die appropriate to the market size, ranging from 1D4, thus impossible, from common vendors, to 1D12 for truly massive and bustling bazaars. But then we get into the rules proper. So first off, we have the abilities. We have 6 abilities. Those are Guile, which have the skills Manipulate and Disguise/Conceal. Lore, Expert Knowledge and Advice. Senses, Search and Assess. Craft, Make and Treat Wounds. Vigor, Haste/Traverse and Hurl/Shoot. Might, Use Force and Guard/Defend. And as mentioned, we have a repeat of the ability score and ability rating. The rating determines the number of 6-sided die you roll during skill tests. So when you're doing a skill test, you declare which ability you're using. You roll dice equivalent to that rating. Any 5 or 6 counts as a success. If you roll at least 1 success, it's a positive outcome. More successes mean a better outcome. A failure may result in a misfortune or a negative effect at the ref's discretion. Of course, then you determine the outcome. Saves, on the other hand, you roll a 20-sided die and compare the result with the ability score. If the result is higher than the ability score, then you suffer the misfortune. Otherwise, instincts and experience save you. 1s are always successful, 20s are always failures. So we have a aim high and an aim low with 2 different dice. Which is interesting.
Yeah, there's some wacky stuff going on in these rules, man.
But then we have there are ways to alter the outcome. Some abilities will let you reroll. Skills like Manipulate and Conceal give you influence over another character's actions. This means you can hinder the efforts by making them reroll 1 or more die. In contrast to regular rolls, your influence lets you decide which die and when your target must reroll. That way you can lower their chances of success. Obviously, modifiers are what you think. Proficiencies are also what you think.
Yeah.
And, of course, other circumstances is the wild card. Instead of tracking via grid, it looks like we're doing a more broad zone-based approach. A zone can be a neighborhood, a landmark building, a town square, or the catacombs.
Yeah, I don't know if zones is the right move for D&D-esque.
I'm not sure how D&D-esque this is.
It's becoming less OSR as we delve into it, you know? Like, it's got a few things, but, like, yeah, it really feels like they went off and very much made their own game with this.
Pretty much.
I'm going to point out there's a few things that I'm finding might be a little awkwardly worded. I did kind of what I did last time. I went ahead, like, made a character as we were going through that section. Under Mercenary, we have Field Medic. It says, when the character treats someone's wounds during a short rest, add 1 to any of the recovery die. If this makes the result exceed the die's natural limit, as would a 7 on a 6-sided dice, treat the surplus as a separate die. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that sentence.
Like, treat the surplus as an extra die.
Well, it seems like you're rolling multiple d6s. Like, the number isn't a modifier under your ability scores. It's the number of dice you roll?
Yeah.
Which still does not answer the question of what... Because if you roll the 6, it's a 7. Alright, so I have a +1, and that +1 is being treated as an extra die?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Am I rolling an extra die then at that point?
It would seem to be the case, yes.
Yep. Let me go back and look at Field Medic. Give me a second. That's under Mercenary. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. Yeah, and I see what it's doing. We haven't gotten to recovery dice yet, which we'll probably get to later. So actually no, the recovery dice thing is in treat wounds. Where it says each 5+ lets you grant a patient a recovery die if resting. 1d6 for short rests, 1d10 for extended rests. So, I'm just going to grab the bookmark. So let me jump straight to the Mercenary. So looking back at Field Medic, it means that when doing a short rest, you'd add 1 to one of the d6s you roll. And keep in mind you're rolling 1d6 for recovery for each die on the heal skill check that hits a 5 or 6. And if you end up doing a bonus where a die would be treated as a 7, then you just roll another die.
So it is just roll an additional die at that point, okay.
Yeah. Which almost makes it an exploding die.
That's treating the +1 as an excess die is an odd way to word that.
Yeah, it's an odd way, but I understand why they did it. This also means that you're not going to use that on extended rest because it's going to be a lot harder to roll extra on a d10, and I don't think you can. You can only do it on short rests, but it does mean your short rests have higher potential.
Yeah.
And
I'd almost would have just worded it if you treat one die as extra, roll an extra dice, rather than treat it as an extra dice.
Yep. But, see, then they go into rounds, and then initiative. Instead of individual-based initiative, it looks like we have party initiative.
I like party initiative.
The referee rolls a die for the NPCs. One of the players rolls a die for the party. Whichever rolls higher acts first. If you get a tie, you either roll again or face a simultaneous pandemonium. If you're surprised, you forfeit your turn during the first round.
Yeah, it's pretty boilerplate stuff.
See, when it gets to combat and damage... let's see. Melee uses the Use Force skill. And hang on, I'm going to open this up in a separate tab just so I can reference the skill list. So give me 1 second. Okay, let me look at the... Oh, they don't have a version of the character sheet in the back. That's a bit odd, but okay.
Well, it's not there. It's in the character creation section.
Yeah.
Which is a bizarre place for it, but it's a pretty character sheet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense you'd put it there. There's a lot of choices like that when they came to laying out this book, where it's like, oh, I'm printing the middle pages of the book for the character sheet? Okie dokie.
So, use force. They describe it as it's a might check. State your demand. Your target must accept or suffer damage. Each 5 up equals 1 die damage as per weapon.
What?
Hang on, let me go up to the war gear because that could be. So, if I am reading that right, this means that when you're doing use force with your weapon, each hit is that weapon's damage die.
Jesus.
This is gonna get brutal real fast if that's the case.
Yeah.
Even a D4 could be particularly nasty in that case.
State your demand. What does that mean? What is state your demand? Must accept or suffer damage.
You give me your money or I punch you in the face.
Well,
are you going to accept my demand?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's... I think that's a system term. No, something more specific is going on here with state your demand. I gotta check this out.
Yep.
What is... Yeah, here. Determine the amount of damage suffered. The assailant player rolls damage dice, and it is pluralizing them. For willed attacks... Willed? The number of damage dice inflicted equals the number of successes rolled. Yeah, so it is a lot of dice. Whereas the size of the damage dice depends on the weapon used. Okay. So it's multiplied by your margin of success, which is Exalted style, which, yeah, that's slice and diced a lot. Damage dice commonly range from small 4-sided weapons to 12-sided for massive. Let's see. Critical hits, flanking bonus, other sources of damage. Alright, so what is use force then? Like, what are we doing?
Use force is one of the might associated skills.
Right, but what is it doing?
Oh.
Yeah, attacking someone, prying open a door, leading your troops in assault. Your adventure triggers the use force skill. Test might. If you score at least 1 success, say what you wish to achieve with your might. To cut off their hands, disarm them, stab out their eyes, pin them down, or scare them into submission. Oh my goodness, there's a lot going on here. So it's not just... It's not a small thing. This really is... The assumption is they're doomed.
Yep. And to make things even worse, if you roll max on damage, that is how you crit. Your crit is an exploding dice.
Oh my god. Always let your opponent decide after you have made your might test, but before rolling damage. This way you can both make an estimate of the outcome without knowing for certain how much danger her character is really in. On a miss, you might aggravate the situation, flinch, lose grip of something, or suffer other misfortune, and it's up to the referee. Yeah, so use force seems to be the attack throw.
Yep.
Now, with how this is worded, it makes me think this is essentially how it's going to go. Let's say I want to grapple this guy, or pin this guy against the wall. I make my might check, like, this many successes. It's like, he can let me do it and just get pinned against the wall.
Yep.
Or he can resist...
and take damage.
And if he won't get pinned against the wall, but he's going to get hurt escaping the pin.
Oh yeah, and
That
it's
seems
even,
to be how that's going to work out.
oh yeah, and it can be a lot of stuff. You can be like, I'm gonna, cut this guy's hand off, or else he takes the damage.
Mm-hmm.
And if you roll really well, he's gonna honestly consider how much he needs that hand.
Yep.
So that's fascinating. The
It's an interesting
dynamics
way to
of
do
this
it.
game. Yeah, the dynamics of this game consistently surprise and intrigue me.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like we have a similar setup with a couple of quirks when it comes to ranged attacks. But instead of using use force, you're using hurl/shoot. The target has to be within reach of the weapon. A successful skill test doesn't do anything if the projectile falls short of its target. Ranged attacks normally grant their target a chance to evade by checking senses. Thrown weapons deal no damage if evaded, and might even be caught in the flight if the player so chooses. Bows and other missile weapons, on the other hand, being smaller, can do half damage when evaded. Let's see. Then we have called shot, and damage is still set up the same way with the critical hits and everything. You can do flanking. The flanking bonus is equal to the number of allies who fight the target. It doesn't say they have to be on opposite ends, so if you want a bum rush, you could do that.
Yeah.
This also means party has a bit of an advantage if they're doing those fights against the sole big bad evil guy. Let's see. When it comes to two weapons, if you're not penalized by using an offhand weapon, but you don't get extra attacks or increased damage unless otherwise noted by a skill. And part of the reason that this is going to be very lethal is the highest endurance, which is basically HP in this, is 18. That is going to get whittled down very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an extremely brutal game.
Mm-hmm. And they go into falling, which is 1d6 per 3 meters. A vigor save halves it. Fire can do various damage depending on the type of fire. And each round that you're exposed to that fire, the damage die goes up. It fortunately doesn't do critical damage. Instead, it spreads on a damage roll of 5 up. A spreading fire means that the character or creature is now engulfed in flame, suffering 1 damage from this fire, as well as the original fire if still present. I'm suddenly thinking of how powerful fire was in Crusader Kings.
I mean, like, I feel like being set on fire should be a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Let's see. Drowning inflicts exhaustion. Each point of exhaustion counts as an item when calculating encumbrance. Once you become weary, you start drowning and you lose 1 point of endurance per round until you die or brought to shore.
It's good.
Let's see. If you're starving, you don't recover from healing extended tests. If you're thirsty, you suffer a -1 to all ability scores. Should a score reach 0, you die. Not die, you fall unconscious. Below 0, you die. And when it comes to armor, you can choose to negate all damage suffered from a single attack and instead let the armor take the hit. When you do, roll a d20 under or equal to your character's armor score. On a hit, you withstand the blow. On a miss, the armor is destroyed. Either way, you suffer no damage from the attack. Rolling a 20 means the blow pierced, sliced, or sundered the armor. The armor is ruined, and the attack deals full damage.
So armor is pretty critical,
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense. I mean, it is.
Yep.
You know? So there's so many interesting little rules decisions in this game. It's fascinating.
Yep. Shields don't offer an armor rating, but instead a defense rating, which gives a constant but less drastic damage reduction. As long as the shield is on, this value is subtracted from each and every hit. So if your shield has a defense of 2, each hit you suffer deals 2 less points of damage, even if you're hit consecutive times during a single round. Based on that, I'm assuming that it reduces individual damage die by 2 in that case. That seems to be the approach, because if it just reduced the total damage by 2, that would be kind of lame for this kind of game.
Yeah, that would be incredibly lame.
I think it'd also be kind of just terrible,
Yeah, it's
considering
like, what would be the point?
how this works. There'd be no point in using a shield if it just did the total, I feel.
Now, when it comes to damage and criticals regarding shields, I'm assuming that if say you suffer 1d4 damage, and you have a shield rating of 1, and the damage die is a 4, it still crits, but the actual damage you take is still lowered. But then we have endurance lost, which can be things through incapacitation, injury, death. Always a hazard. Let's see, encumbrance and fatigue, exhaustion, weariness. Then rest and recovery. If you take a short rest, you get 1d4 points of endurance. You can take this as any time as long as you're not attacked or otherwise disturbed. During a short rest, you can regain no more than half of the endurance lost since your last extended rest. On extended rest, you're doing a full night's worth of camping, eat, drink, sleep, so on. You pay upkeep or reduce your character's rations by 1 and regain 1d4 endurance. During an extended rest, you can heal old and grave wounds up to your starting endurance. A incapacitated or injured character can only regain endurance during extended tests and will remain incapacitated until fully recovered. Though when it comes to recovery die, as mentioned, you roll 6-sided die. During extended rest, you roll 10-sided die. You recover endurance equal to the score rolled. Recovery die can also be used to remove conditions or ongoing effects. 5 ups will remove any temporary ailment. 8 or 10s might be required for sicknesses or severe lasting effects. Recovery die are resolved separately. And they do have a nice little chart that's a quick reference on what you can do with a short or extended rest. But then they go into the basic skills, and there are only 12 skills in addition to whatever skills you get from your class. And I do like that the Beyond the Basic skills is basically a one-page guide to adding new skills and where the line is, as well as when is the right and wrong way to use skills. But one of the best ones that I like is, unless logic or some other reason strongly suggests otherwise, different outcomes should be assumed to be equally plausible. But let's see, then we have the referees section. A lot of this is GM advice, though I'd say it's pretty good GM advice. And of course, improvise is one. The key skill for any good referee. I wish some professional sports referees knew that. Some might ask when I say that, which sports referees are you referring to with that? Yes.
Yeah.
And it was almost worse. I remember watching football during the replacement ref years where games where they were completely overmatched like a lot of them had handled small time or gimmick leagues, and then they're being told to referee matches for the NFL on national television. And the games got so bad it was unwatchable. It was because the NFL couldn't agree on a I think it was either a CBA or something like that, but basically the regular refs walked out.
Jesus, dude, how bad do you have to be for like a professional who's getting paid to be there is like, yeah, no, I'm done. This is ridiculous.
But they do go into setting up adventures, and with one sample adventure setup being the Reaver's Fort. Basically, where you'd basically be drawing 8 rooms of this fortress on paper, distributing them according to how you see it, or by pouring 8 dice and circling the places they land.
Ooh, that's kind of a cool method.
Give each room passages. Assume each room has 1d4 passages to its neighboring rooms. And the contents of the room. Elaborate on that and possibly pre-place so that things work out. We do have a nice little d20 chart for the description of various rooms. Could also do the wilderness approach, as well as expanding the world by creating zones. And a whole table for misfortunes. And as a bit of an example, they give the Great Barrens of Kartal as an adventuring site. This feels very hex crawl friendly, and also creating NPCs, which it seems like they're meant to be created similarly to PCs. But it is very loose.
I know we've said in the past on some things that sometimes having NPCs created the same way as PCs can be a bit of an issue. However, as I did kind of create the one PC earlier as we were going through, it is very simple and easy.
Yep.
So if we got a slightly more streamlined version of that just for creating it enemy NPCs, I don't think that's going to be a problem here.
I have to correct myself. NPCs don't normally have abilities. Instead, they have power and save. Power corresponds to ability rating, and save corresponds to ability score. Though there is an implication that when making an NPC, you have to decide a power level, basically how many die you roll for skill tests. There is a chance of success table on page 46, but they state that a power level of 2 roughly equals a starting character. With saves, you roll 1d6 per power level, adjusting for strengths and weaknesses, and keep half. That is the creature's saves. So they say if an NPC has power 2 plus vigor minus lore, you would roll 1 die to determine its lore save, and 3 die and discard the lowest for its vigor save, and 2 dice for all other saves. Of course, if you want, you could simply multiply the NPC's power level by 3 to get an approximate result. And when setting up endurance, you roll a number of d10s equal to power level, and just add them up. Of course, with armor and weapons, you can just use the armor and weapons list that we saw before. An ordinary creature does 1d6 damage, a large 1d8, an extraordinary 1d10, and a monstrous thing does 1d12. And that more or less covers what we have for Blood and Bronze.
It seems a pretty reasonably complete game, honestly.
It is a complete... I won't say it's full beer and pretzels, but it is one that wouldn't require a whole lot of setup. It's very interesting in terms of some of the design decisions it did.
Yeah, I'm not really sure if I could predict how this would feel in play, but I imagine it would be extremely brutal. That exploding damage die thing is just mean.
1 or 2 good hits could take you out.
Yeah, and since it's side-based initiative, I feel like battles would either be getting mutilated or an absolute one-sided slaughter. So yeah, this is a game that would strongly reward striking first and sneaking around.
Mm-hmm. Which definitely leans into the sword and sorcery direction. Especially since let me look at war gear for a second. There's also the fact that with the mystic and the like, we did not see a spell list per se. Spells are just a specific type of skill. One that is requiring certain resources, so...
Well, it seems like there's discrete effects that you can get from your class when you use your magical go-go juice. I was looking through those. Like, all fascinating stuff. There's just so much interesting and evocative about this game.
Yep.
I gotta tell you, man, this is a recommend for me. I might try this out. It definitely has at least a one-shot worth of potential in it. Like, as far as, like, just a reason to try it out. God, I want a physical copy of this book. The art's so beautiful.
Oh, yeah. So I decided to look at...
I still think some of the things are a little awkwardly worded.
Oh, absolutely.
Other than that, I'm on the board with you there.
Look at the names of the authors of this book. We've got Gustav Broel, Jock Anderson, 2 S's, Mike Bergamot, Christopher Lindhall, Emil Thunstrom. These probably aren't native English speakers.
Yeah.
Editing Joseph Wallerco? Oh, goodness. Yeah. Transatlantic edition. Ah, yes. So I think that some of that awkwardness is completely honest.
Yeah. I looked at shields and armor. Most shields have a defense rating of either 2 or 3. Armor ranges from 1 to 10. So, you know how... Given the fact that you have to do an armor check, this does mean that it's a way to... It's a potential way to reduce damage, but it's not going to be all that reliable because you're rolling a straight d10 in the case for, say, cloth armor, you're trying to get a 3 or less on a d20.
Ugh. Yeah, 15% chance, not likely. So yeah, the armor is kind of there as a last-ditch resort when all else has gone wrong.
Yeah, I think the approach they're taking is the best defense is not getting hit.
100%. The best defense is killing them in an ambush before they get a chance to attack you.
Yeah, especially since so an unarmed punch or a slingshot is 1d4 damage. Something like a bow is 1d6. A khopesh is 1d6 plus 1. A great weapon like a crescent axe is 1d10. So, imagine doing use force with a skill rating of 1 with a great weapon. Like, even... as long as you get a 5 or 6, you're doing a pretty good amount of damage. And remember, these things explode, so even those lowly slingshots, if somebody's got enough skill ranks and they end up rolling a bunch of 4s, that still can get nasty. Like, normally you'd look at a weapon doing 1d4 damage and you think, oh, that's just because you can't afford or you're not proficient in the weapons that do more damage. No, in this case, the low dice weapons are the spiky ones. Which is a very interesting way to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is the... I would put this... even with the oddly worded bits, I would put this as strongly recommended.
I'm right there with you on that.
And let me see how much this costs on the... Oh, don't tell me this is one of those where you can't buy it.
Are you strongly recommending a game we can't get? You mother...
No,
It's
false,
happened a few times.
false alarm. I found it.
Okay. So where is it? You need to link the people to it. This is a good game.
Oh,
Deserves their attention.
yeah, here you go. Let me put it in the side chat. Currently, the MSRP on the PDF is $7.50,
That's fine.
which, for what you're getting out of this, I'd say that's a pretty good deal.
I think so.
Um,
I think so. Back to the side chat. Yeah, here we go. Drive-through RPG. Good old drive-through. Not bad at all. Yeah, $7.50. It's a beautiful game system. Human created without AI, no joke. Good reviews too. These seem like, honestly, all of these would probably be. I would trust these.
Yep.
Yeah, some people praising the setting, which is again exactly what you'd want it to be.
Yeah.
Someone's praising it being lean, which it is. It's lean and still ready to do a lot of interesting stuff. There's someone praising the art. Yeah, these are all genuine.
I mean, maybe
Really
if I
big one by Sandor.
if I want to scrape the bottom of the barrel when it comes to critique, maybe the lack of example NPCs could be an issue, but not really.
And actually, if you go to their store, Encyclopean Games, they've got a lot. You want NPCs? Well, look at you. You could pick up Thralls of the Sun, or the Wondrous Horde, Slave Pits of Sipar. You know, there's a Blood and Bronze character compendium right here. Across the White Marsh, Wonders of the Wild. Like, some of these are the Wonders of the Wild is pay what you want. These look fantastic. Beautiful art. Yeah, Copper bestsellers. I'd highly recommend checking them out. Look at all this. Yeah, people are asking for POD versions. You know you've succeeded when people want to see your stuff in physical print. It's good times.
Oh yeah. And with a lot of the expansions that they have, Wonders of the Wild is pay what you want. Slave Pits of Sipar is free, as well as the character compendium. But there's a whole bundle set up that's MSRP $20.
Yeah, spend $20, guys. You won't regret it.
They do have a Swords and Wizardry version of the Wondrous Horde, but if I'm being honest, I'd rather use Blood and Bronze's own system for this. This definitely has some, like, there are some hallmarks of old school within the design, but I don't think if you've got a bunch of people who are familiar with like Swords and Wizardry or Shadow Dark or Osric and you have them jump onto this, they're gonna have some adjustment. especially since when I was doing the whole comparing old school D&D classes to the character types here, I kind of dropped that after the third one because I'm like, yeah, this is starting to get more and more of a stretch. Really, only the mercenary and the rogue work in that parallel. The other ones, I mean, the nomad, maybe you could say ranger, but I don't think so. I think the link there isn't strong enough.
Yeah, these are very particular to this game, and the mechanics are so out of left field for an OSR that the direct comparisons are tributary at best.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah.
I'm sure
yeah.
I'm sure some will argue about whether or not it is, because
Yeah,
I've seen
it's-
people argue about
always
whether or
like
not
that.
Sword World 1.0 is OSR, and I'm like, how?
Sword World. Yeah, nah, guys. These words mean things.
Uh,
Not even sorry.
I've seen some say that because of the more sword and sorcery approach with the setting, but the problem is, if OSR is tied to early D&D, and we covered this when we covered Sword World 1.0, there is no parallel mechanically. And it's especially the case with the magic system. The magic system has more in common with RuneQuest than D&D, especially since you're using spell points instead of the Vancian model.
It's truth. It's truth.
But some people are that desperate. But we're going to take a break for a couple of minutes, and when we come back, we are going to be jumping straight into Iron Sleet, which is a very different game than this. So we'll see you in a few. are back, ladies and gentlemen. Joel had to bow out because it is nap time, and we had started a bit late, but we have Iron Sleet, a tactical operations RPG. This one is about 66 pages. And let's see, do we have bookmarks? Yes, we do. Oh, I forgot to mention, with Blood and Bronze, I have to technically dock it a point for not having an index.
No index. I didn't even think to check this time. I got in such a habit of that during my first run on Val, just immediately checking for an index, because I was shocked how many games don't have an index.
Yeah, it looks like this one... Now, it's not as much of a dock because of how small the things are.
Yeah.
But it is something I have to note. So, let's see. We don't have a hyperlinked table of contents, but we do have a decent bookmark setup. So I can give it that. But let me read off the introduction, because this is taking place in a very specific setting. Iron Sleet takes place in the fictional world of Kurakil, a world plagued by chaotic magic. The planet is constantly affected by magical storms, dangerous creatures, and other effects that make life on Kurakil difficult. The amount of safe and stable places on Kurakil are few and far between, requiring the residents to adapt to their surroundings. At one time, magic was calm and easily controlled by those who wished to learn its secrets, but those times are long gone. The only way the residents of Kurakil have been able to harness magic is through specialized runes crafted by skilled individuals. Devices that use runes are referred to as rune tech, and have allowed communities to thrive in this hostile world. Now we reach the modern day, where materials and resources are contested by powerful countries and organizations. Despite the size of these countries, the populations are rather small, and wars have become limited affairs. Thus entered the age of mercenaries, disposable, expendable, and deniable armed forces. Many who feel the call of combat or enjoy the hazard pay join a mercenary company and fight on the battlefields of the modern age. Iron Sleet is a tactical espionage and special ops RPG based in the Shattered Continent setting. You take the role of special ops and are part of a country or mercenary organization. The player's characters are trained and equipped to take on missions too difficult, too specialized, or too risky for the regular armed forces. So we almost have something that I've pondered about, of taking a fantasy setting and jumping the timeline ahead 2,000 years or so. Which is a interesting approach. Obviously, then we go into, what is a role-playing game, how to read dice, what do you need to start. You need d20s and a few d6s. Then we have the basics, like just getting right to it. First, the tests. A challenge test involves a d20 plus any boons or banes plus a relevant stat, and you're trying to get over 10. A attack test is d20, multiple ones if full auto, plus boons or banes, plus relevant stat. You're trying to beat the target's evade stat. It uses 1-inch squares as measurement for all movement. Feel free to use whatever you feel is the best method. 1 square equals 5 feet. So boons and banes cancel each other out. You can never have more than 3 of either on a roll. So the boons and banes setup is pretty much the same as the way it works in Shadow of the Demon Lord. You're rolling d6s, and you add the highest, or subtract the highest, respectively. The distribution of them is handled by the GM.
And I've always been kind of upfront. I've always liked the boons and banes setup more than the advantage disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to see it here.
I think the times that I do like advantage disadvantage is when it's uncapped. This is why I liked it in Emberwind, because you're not capped. Most of the time when it's used, you're capped at 1. With Emberwind, if you've got advantage from multiple sources, you're rolling as many die as you've got it. The same thing can apply to disadvantage, and you're still keeping only the highest or lowest. And I think that's one way to do it. Break has it where you're rolling 3d20, and you're either keeping the highest, middle, or lowest. If you have advantage, you keep the highest. If you have disadvantage, you keep the lowest. If you don't have either, you keep the middle.
That's an interesting way to handle it.
Mm-hmm. But then we have wounds. When you take 3 separate injuries, you're in critical condition. Then stamina, the amount of endurance you have. Movement, the speed you're on in flat ground, how much you can move with 1 activation. Strength, physical mass, agility, exactly what you think it is. Then knowledge, then empathy, then luck. I'd say those are your base ability scores. Then evade, your ability to get out of the way. Armor, which reduces damage from attacks. Bulk, the amount of items and equipment you can carry, which is 5 plus your strength stat. That's very black hack of them. With weapons, you can carry 1 main weapon and 2 sidearms, and you can only carry 1 piece of armor. But then they go to combat rounds. So stamina is basically your AP system, it looks like. You're spending stamina to perform actions. And if you don't have enough stamina, you can't do that action. When you've completed your turn, you get 1/2 of your total stamina. So it does look like instead of the approach of, oh, you can only do 1 move action, 1 attack action, and whatnot, this is a case of you can do the action if you can pay. You may, depending on what you want to do, you may not want to spend all of it, especially since I'm pretty sure reactions are going to work the same way. So it's definitely a case of you need to figure out how much you're trying to push it. We already covered attack tests. Then you roll if you roll damage. If the damage is under the defender's armor, the defender takes a minor wound. If it's greater than the armor, they take a wound. If it's double the armor, they take 2 wounds. And if you take 3 minor wounds, that's converted into a wound. And we also have a bit of a thing on throwing grenades, where if it hits, then anything in the radius gets hit. If you fail, you have to roll on a d20 table to see if something interesting happens to you. On a 1 to 5, you get hit with the grenade. On a 6 to 14, nothing happens. On a 15 to 20, you only damage the target, not anyone else in the AoE. But let's see, when it comes to wounded characters, when you take wounds equal to or greater than your wound stat, you have to roll 1d20 on the chart below. When you take 3 separate injuries while you're in critical condition, you will die unless you get medical attention. NPCs don't roll in the chart, they just die. And with the first we have the injury chart, which if you roll a 1 on that, the character is dead. Oh. Or if you roll a 20, 'tis but a scratch. You recover all of your wounds. On the other hand, on the major injury chart, if you have one of these, you will bleed out in 2 rounds. A knowledge roll with 2 banes will stabilize you. So then going into vehicles, which anyone who's inside the vehicle when it's destroyed takes 1 wound. And then we get into character creation, which, if I'm being honest, I prefer having character creation first and then going into mechanics. I'm kind of iffy about doing character creation second like this, because you're introducing a bunch of terms that you don't have full context of yet.
I think there needs to be like a minimum usually you might need before character creation to at least understand what you're reading.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you want to dump all of it before character creation.
Yeah, and this kind of does the latter.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we seem to have just a simple kind of point by kind of setup for character creation here.
Yep, you pick an ancestry, which gives 1 free build point to certain stats. You have 30 build points to spend on stats, abilities, and equipment. Your starting stats are 2 wounds, 1 stamina, no luck, 3 move, 5 evade, no armor, and a -5 in strength, agility, knowledge, and empathy. I'm not entirely sure why that needs to start at strength 5. That's not strength 5, but as -5. And you do have a list of positive and negative qualities you can spend on. Now,
I kind of want to do something real quick to kind of compare your negatives to the positives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's look at a random -1 with Gremlins. For a negative ability, whenever this character interacts with a tech object, they roll a bane on the test. With
that
a
tracks
tech
for
object
a gremlin.
In this setting.
That tracks for a gremlin.
That's kind of mean. And let's go stealthy. While hidden, any character attempting to spot this character receives 1 bane on their spot action. If we take this kind of as a general that's going to apply across most abilities, you are definitely taking on more of a penalty with the negative abilities for equivalent cost to the positive.
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of prefer this setup rather than like it being directly equal.
Yeah.
There's some mean -1s here, like Jesus, Infirm for the 3 points. This character takes 1 Bane test on any test that involves the strength or agility stat.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But then you do have you can spend 15 to start it as a CCU, which is also equipped with a gravity control device. That's 15 out of 30 points. And then the gear cheat sheet. And as a general rule, 1 BP equals $500. And let's see, when it comes to weapons, there are a few tags. Accurate, you attack with 1 boon. Cloud, the explosive area on the weapon stays in effect until the end of rounds, so like a gas grenade. A lot of them are what you would expect. Though, hang on. Excuse me. I think the question that's in the back of my mind is why that -5 starting point is needed. Because on a D20 roll, that's a hell of a penalty to start with.
And at 30 starting points, if you just want to get rid of penalties, that would be 20 of your 30. Huh. As soon as I say it like that, I think I kind of get it.
I get it, but it feels
I don't know
like
if it's necessary in this situation.
Mm-hmm. It feels like a pay to not suck.
It's one of those things I don't know how the math's going to work out by the end with the point value off the top of my head.
Well, remember that the core setup, and let me once again put this on a separate tab. So, as we saw with the cheat sheet early on, the course. Let me make sure. So the core test is D20 plus stat, and you're trying to get over 10. So if you have a -5 for that, that is a significant hindrance.
You have a roughly 25% success rate.
Which, is that trying to be the equivalent of the rule of 15? Because if so, I'm not like, again, especially given how many build points you have and how and what those build points are used for overall. I think that I don't agree with the -5 thing. I think if I was running this, I'd house rule that those big 4 start at 0, not -5.
As soon as I said 25% out loud, which is about where it ended up, again, this isn't taking anything else into account.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that's somewhat reasonable. To like the worst you're going to be default the bad stats is 25% success rate. I don't think that's actually that bad.
Maybe, but when I look at
I don't know if I quite like seeing negative numbers like that, because that's immediately what the brain cuts to.
When I look at the mission and gaming intentions in the GM's tool, then I think it's even more of the case, because it says the main goal of this RPG is to allow the players to feel a little like action heroes in a blockbuster film and overcoming the odds. If it is doing that, then I think the -5 may get in the way of that. Like I think it does.
This is a situation I think they could put in some guidance, like, okay, if you want to do this, you kind of expect you'll want to put X number of points into certain stats.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing that listed anywhere, but I think if they had something like that set up, again, just a little bit of guidance in that regard, I don't think -5 would be a problem.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, there are a few optional rules that they bring up about mission budgets, a team luck pool, which luck is basically a limited use reroll. we have a random mission generator, and the different types of foes. And yeah, some of the foes have their setup and negatives as well. But it's still something that kind of bugs me. And after that, they go into a bit of the setting, including a short history of the different ages. And like I said, this is basically a setting where magic exists, but has become extremely dangerous, and you have you have it where where modern special ops has to be in a world with magic, or at least with the supernatural. You're not. I don't think we're going to see any mages here. And I do like that we have different subtypes of the different races. Also ancestries, and then we get to what a CCU is. It is a coyote combat unit, described as a hard suit developed for scouting missions and hunting down enemy cyborgs. The CCUs generally stand about 8 feet tall and have revolutionary rune tech devices that let the user have total control on how much the CCU weighs. This allows the suit to be as light or as heavy as the user needs and allows minimal damage to urban centers. Pilots of the CCU hardsuit are required to have their limbs removed in order to save on space inside the CCU. Many CCU pilots were amputees before signing up to become a pilot. The pilot's nervous system is connected to the suit, and after a training period lasting around 6 months, a pilot can use the suit as if it's their own body. I can see why you have to spend 15 build points to be a CCU.
Oh yeah.
But they do have a bit. They do have a bit on the different pantheons. And I like that they have multiple pantheons, each with their own setup of gods. And areas of conflict, which these could be potential areas where you'd have missions. And then a few potential mercenary companies. Which is a nice touch. And that's it. So I'd say this is also very beer and pretzels. I do think the setting is carrying a lot of weight. The mechanics are not far removed from Shadow of the Demon Lord, in terms of with a bit of freeform. That also means it's going to have the same problems that freeform and point-based games have. I think it's somewhat alleviated by the fact that we don't have a skill system here.
Yeah.
But it is going to be one of those cases where analysis paralysis is going to be a thing.
I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue here, just because it doesn't have that quiet birth setting or birth of option. What I would like to see is like at least 4 different pre-built characters, just to show like how you would expect to build one.
I could see that, and I maintain that a significant issue is the -5 because of how much of a hole that is. I know when you do the math it's not as bad, but being less bad does not equal not being bad.
Again, I'd be perfectly fine with it if they had that example for how you characters, just so you know how you should expect those numbers to look at the beginning once your character's finished getting built.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would pretty much alleviate that for the most part.
But even if
But
there
we don't
isn't
have
a
that, so
even if there isn't a skill setup, you still have to distribute points amongst a bunch of different stats.
yeah.
So so is this a big case of analysis paralysis when it comes to this point system? Compared to some games we've covered and some games we've run, no. But saying that is almost like saying that getting shot with a beanbag is less lethal.
Another thing, again, I think just a good number of example characters would do a lot to solve.
Hmm.
I wish we had that in this book, but sadly we do not.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna double check if that's in some expanded material somewhere that I don't have.
Yeah.
Because
It really should be in the core book.
yes. It should be in the core book, or at the very very absolute least.
Especially this is not some giant character sheet they'd have to be showing multiples of. Like, it's a simple sheet.
The simple sheet. I'd say this is even more beer and this is a different. I won't say more beer and pretzels. This is a similar but different type of beer and pretzels compared to what we saw with Blood and Bronze.
Yeah.
But as far as what I would grade this, I think the highest I can go is recommended. It is a very
I think I give it recommended pretty easily.
It is a very no frills thing. The issue of that negative thing still bugs the hell out of me. I do not like that. And I do think people's caveman brain is going to look at the look at the -5 in a certain way.
Yeah. If they had that good set of examples, I might give it a strongly recommend.
Mm-hmm.
It does not, though, so it does not get that. It just gets recommended from me.
It is in that vein of almost great. And now, fortunately, it is free. So it does have that going for it, which is certainly nice, and it does have a mech-based spin-off called Steel Totems, which is only 2 pages. It was part of the 1P RPG challenge. As I say 2 pages, but it's really really isn't. It is one of those cases of trying to do the entire rule set in one image, but for the purpose of this, I think if they had it that you start at 0 and you were capped out at 5, I would be a bit more fine with that, especially given the spread. That's just the big elephant in the room that I can't avoid. It is sitting in my living room saying, "Address me." But overall, this was still a pretty good pair that we got for this one. I do think between the two, I would be more willing to run Blood and Bronze than Iron Sleet. At least as is.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I don't see too many things I'd have to house rule when it comes to Blood and Bronze. I might warn people that they're probably going to get their ass kicked if they try to play it like other fantasy games. Much in the same way I had to warn 40k players not to do a bum rush in an Infinity game. They didn't listen, did it anyways, and got tabled. And I'm like, I warned you. I told you if you didn't listen to me, you were going to get tabled, and now you got tabled. You know, it's like, you ever have to deal with somebody who insists that they're just going down a couple blocks and think, oh, I don't need to buckle my seatbelt. I have seen the aftermath of that. Then they come into their insurance agent and are wearing a neck brace. And everybody knows why. But that will cover it for this particular episode of the Valley.
I have thrown a somewhat appropriate song in your Twitch chat.
Oh God, let me load this up in a separate tab. I'm not gonna play it.
Yeah.
I can't feel dumb.
It's great.
You know what? I'll give you this one. I'd say that is as good a spot as any to wrap things up. So we'll be back here next week as we, I believe, finish up Vileborn and set things in motion for the next season. And I will be back tomorrow with more of Veil of Eternal Night. So keep an eye out for that. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.